We've done it. The assassins have failed again. We made it through another week. It's time to put the kettle on and talk about some books. It's time for a weekly recap. I almost dropped them. I almost dropped all of the books. Hey everyone, I hope you've had a really good week and that you're reading some great books. My reading week, I've got to say, it's been another good one, and it's been a while since I had a bad reading week. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about what I'm currently reading, what I just got finished reading, and what I'm looking forward to reading. I'll tell you about the book battles that we've had on the Discord and how they played out. I'll also talk about a movie that I went to see at the cinema. Yeah, I went out. I left the house for once. And I went to the movies and it was great. And I'll update the top 10 watch list of 2025 to see if that movie made the list. But first and foremost, let's talk about the books. Let's talk about what I'm currently reading. And I'm going to start off with The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. I'm not going to talk about this one in too much detail because it's a really long book. I spoke about it last week. I'm going to talk about it next week by the time that I've finished this. It's taken a really long time to get through. It's 500,000 words, right? So, yeah, so I just don't want everyone to get sick of hearing about this book. I'll just say this. I'm about, I would say, but somewhere between 60 and 70% of the way through, and I'm loving it. It's hitting all of the beats of a great revenge story. I will admit that there was a section that happened in Rome, and I felt like that dragged out a little bit for me. You know, I was like, all right, can we get past this part maybe? Yeah, it just felt like it was unnecessarily long and a bit of a detour, in my opinion, away from the story, the main story. But we're back on track now, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I plan on finishing this book by Sunday next week. I'm not sure. It may be the longest book I've ever read. I'll have to double check. That could be Shogun, which was a really long book. It could be The Stand by Stephen King, but this is definitely in the top 5 longest books I've ever read, but worth the investment, I think. Another really fat book is Boy's Life by Robert McCammon, and this is a coming-of-age story that's set in 1960s Alabama. It's filled with nostalgia and mystery and a touch of like magical realism, I would say. I'm only 10% into this book so far, so I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it's already hitting me with a sense of nostalgia. I'm 40 years old now, and so I feel like more than ever before in my life, I am susceptible to that particular heartstring being plucked, you know, sort of like romanticizing my childhood and the days of summer holidays or summer vacations, as you would call them in America, where you're with your friends and you're riding on your bikes, and you know everything just feels like you've got the whole summer of like possibilities. Everyone's got these big dreams of what they're gonna be. It's sort of like all of those lovely feelings just combined together in this book. It's hard to speak about this book as a whole because obviously I haven't finished it. I haven't really even begun it, to be honest. 10%. What's 10%? But it is opening up that feeling of childhood wonder, and it's really striking a chord with me. Like, nostalgia is a funny thing, I think, because even though I wasn't raised anywhere remotely like Alabama, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, while this book is set in the 1960s. I think that there are some things which are just universally true. And this book feels like it's awakening all of these memories. There are parts of my childhood that I haven't thought about in maybe 10 or 20 years. And then I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, remember that. Remember that feeling. Remember that moment or that person, you know? It's, I'm, yeah, I've already got a bit choked up reading it. I've smiled a lot. And again, I don't want to oversell it, but there is a real danger that I may be currently reading a new top 10 book of all time. There, I said it. I said it. Also, because I like reading seasonally, I think that, with the heat wave that we're having here in Atlanta, I think this might be the perfect time to pick this one up. So if you're looking for something which is a bit wholesome and like a nostalgic summer read, I'm saying nostalgia too much, but if you read the book, I think you're going to know what I'm talking about. This one might be the right book to read right now. What's crazy to me is how Robert McCammon's writing style is so similar to Stephen King's. They both have this ability to establish a time and a place and a character in just like a couple of sentences. I already feel as though I know the main characters quite deeply. But yeah, it's another really long one. Look at them side by side. I mean, that's as wide as my head, and I have a really wide head, by the way. I can't wear hats. I'm also reading Persuasion by Jane Austen with the PBJ Book Club. Still enjoying it. This book is just all about the things that I think we feel we can't say and the chances that go untaken, and how life can just slip away when we're too polite to let people know what we really want. I think it's a lot to do with that. So we're going to be finished with this by Friday, and then we're moving on to the next choice of the PBJ Book Club. The book club picks every month what we're going to be doing. We do it on like a vote on the Patreon, and so I'm going to be revealing the next book that we're going to be reading for August together. And I'm very excited to read that. It's a book that came out recently. This one came out about 200 years ago. The book that got chosen for August came out this year, I think, anyway. Might have come out late 2024, or I think it came out this year. But either way, came out really recently. And this book has got a lot of buzz. It's a lot of buzz. Yeah, a lot of people seem to like this book. So I'm excited to read it. So what book did I finish reading this week? I actually started reading it this week and finished reading it this week, which is a bit of a rarity this month because I'm reading all these chunkers. But that book was Discovery by J.A.J. Minton. So this is a book that I've been looking forward to reading for a long time now, ever since I heard that it was being released. Written by J.A.J. Minton, which is the family pen name for John, Amy, and Jacob Minton. They're also the family behind the BookTube channel Talking Story, if you've ever seen that. If you're watching this, you probably have at least watched maybe one or two of their videos, or maybe you're a subscriber of theirs, and you like them as much as I do, right? And it happens to be one of my favorite BookTube channels. They've got really similar tastes to me. They seem to like a lot of fantasy and sci-fi. So when I found out they were releasing a book, I had really high hopes for it. Let me hold this book up because it's a lovely cover as well. Did this book meet my expectations? So here's the thing about having a BookTube channel. You've got to be honest, and it doesn't matter if you like the author as like a person or people, or if you're a fan of their other work, and the content that they put out. You've got to, in my opinion anyway, judge a book completely on its own merits. Because if you're not being honest about the books that you're reading and what you think of them, and you kind of like skew things a little bit and show a little bit of bias, then honestly, I think, what's the point in having a BookTube channel at that point if you're not being honest about the books that you're reading? So with all of that said, I think it's very lucky that I liked this book so much. I really liked it. Not just a good cover, all of this stuff's good as well in the middle. So yeah, this book is set in the 90s and kicks off with a former game show host. He's kind of disgraced in the industry. I can't remember if it's described why he was disgraced or why he was cancelled or whatever it is. I don't think that's mentioned, but I think it's just left up to the reader's imagination. He is trying to revive his career by producing a deep sea TV special in the South Pacific. And he's searching for this World War II sunken submarine. But instead of finding that, he finds something ancient and alien under the ocean. And when the footage leaks to the public, this isn't a spoiler or anything like that. This is just a description of what the book is about. When that footage leaks to the public, the whole world basically freaks out and starts questioning our place in the universe. So it's like that classic first contact story. I think it's a really strong example of that. It's got a wide scope with multiple POV characters that are spread all across the world and also in different time periods as well. There's characters in Africa, in Ireland, in South America, in the United States, and many other countries around the world. And so, yeah, we're constantly jumping around. I'll say this about the book is that every time a new chapter started and I was introduced to a new character, at first I found myself thinking, oh no, like I don't want to meet a new character. Like I was enjoying the last character and I was getting into it. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to start with getting to know a brand new character and all that. But then I'd go a few pages into it and I'd go, oh yeah, okay, yeah. This is actually really good as well. Maybe I should just shut the fuck up, and just like enjoy it. All of the characters are reacting to and planning for what comes next in the wake of this discovery. I liked all of the characters and I don't think there was a single weak plot line. It's difficult to put this book into a box really because it is a little bit there's some horror, there's some sci-fi, there's some sort of family drama all rolled into one. Someone said on my Goodreads they wondered in my review of this how many times I would use the word ambitious. And I think ambitious, good point. It is ambitious, but that's a good thing, right? It reminds me a little bit of the three-body problem, which I love the three-body problem. The reason I think it reminds me of that is that there's multiple perspectives that are all preparing for a world in which they've discovered alien life. So it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. Structurally, it gave me Hyperion vibes as well, because it is sort of like a collection of interconnected short stories where characters from other stories occasionally cross over between the narratives. The plot is totally different to Hyperion, so don't think, oh, this is going to be like Hyperion. It's just, like I say, structurally, it's kind of like that. Of course, there are heavy Lovecraftian vibes to this as well. I think Lovecraft is probably a pretty big inspiration for the authors. Was it scary? There was one visual which, yeah, it was scary. It was scary. If you are creeped out by cosmic horror, there was one visual in the book quite early on where I got a shiver when I was reading it. I went, ooh, it's good. This book had so many things that I enjoy, exploration, mythos, and also a bit of speculative artificial intelligence. I really liked that element of the book, actually, and it's a good thing that I did because the story kept returning to it. That felt as though that was the core story that was connecting all of the others in a way. But yeah, I like that. I had a great time reading it. And if you watch this channel with any regularity, you'll know that I am a big fan of a great final line. You know, a lot of people talk about the first line in a book. It's really important to have a memorable first line. I think it's just as important to have a good final sentence. And the last line in this book, pure cinema. Like the camera zooms out, roll credits kind of a moment, you know, really great. And I'm already looking forward to the next one in the series. So yeah, great job, guys. I think this is a great book. If you like Lovecraftian horror, I would definitely advise picking this up. And, you know, yeah, it is ambitious, and I think that's a good thing. Also, I want to say congratulations as well to Adam Fider, who designed the cover. Ooh, that's one of the better covers that I've seen come out this year. I've got to say, that's pucker. That's an old word that you don't hear very often. Pucker. Good, man. Good fun. Yeah, pick it up if you like sci-fi and Lovecraftian horror. What I always like to do as well is give each book that I finish a little soundtrack. Or like a song equivalent to that book, something that would play well if this was like a trailer for a movie adaptation of this book, basically. And so for Discovery, I think the perfect song would be Pyramid Song by Radiohead. I think that's pretty much the perfect match. There's a little bit of relevance in the lyrics, but I think more importantly, the tone and the melody is in sync with the feeling and the atmosphere of the book. So what am I going to be reading next? It's just really a continuation of what I'm currently reading. I mean, I can't read anymore, can I? Got The Count of Monte Cristo, Boy's Life, Persuasion by Jane Austen. When I say it like that, it really does seem like that's too much, man. You've bit off more than you can chew. But I can do it. I know I can do it. Persuasion is basically just a couple of hours to finish. That's easy. And then it's just like maybe a third of The Count of Monte Cristo, and then just finish Boy's Life. Easy. And if you'd like to keep up to date with my reviews, then you can follow me on Goodreads, which should be appearing just down below there. It's the same name as this channel, Paperback Journeys. So let's talk about what I've been watching. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, I went to the cinema and I went to see Superman. It seems like this is a film that everyone is talking about right now. So I decided, you know what? I just want to go see it for myself, see what all the fuss is about. I should start off by saying that I am not really a superhero movie kind of guy. I didn't read the comics growing up. I don't have a strong attachment to any superhero character. I think Marvel and DC Comics are culturally much more a part of American culture than they are in England. Of course, you have English people that read comics in the same way that you have Americans that watch the Premier League, you know, but culturally, comics just happen to be more of an American thing as far as I can tell. But I've heard from many fans of the comics that say that this film is one of the most pure movie adaptations from the Superman comics that there's ever been. And I thought personally, this film was just really great. I'm not going to talk about any spoilers or anything like that, but what I'll say is that I have seen other Superman movies in the past. Usually they contain a bit of an origin story. I think by now, James Gunn, the director, kind of assumes that most people that are going to see this movie already are familiar with Krypton and what happened there. And so there isn't really any origin story in this film. We don't spend any time watching Krypton blow up or baby Superman learning how to fly and going through awkward teenage years. There's none of that. The film skips all of the formalities and it just drops us straight into this story in this time. All we get really are a few quick title cards, all of the need to know stuff. So this is who he is. This is where he came from. This is how long he's been around. There are also all of these other metahumans that have been around for a few years. Sorry, my dog's scratching at the door. Do you want to see my dog? Here he is. Here he is. My own little crypto. Oh, are you... Like, it's funny because Superman's dog is a big feature in the film. His name's Crypto, and he acts exactly like Poe acts. He's very energetic, he's very naughty, and aren't you? Yeah, I know. Yeah, he is. All right, say goodbye. Bye. Sorry. So, yeah, his dog is in it, Crypto. I wasn't even aware that Superman had a dog. I got to be honest with you. That's how little I knew about the character. But yeah, we're dropped into the middle of this scene where we get really quickly a recap of everything that's happened up until this very second. And in the opening scene, we are told that Superman has just had his ass kicked for the very first time. And that's where the movie begins. Like I say, I've seen other Superman movies, obviously the early ones with Christopher Reeve and then also with Henry Cavill. I always found Superman to be, I have to be honest, like a bit boring. I just felt like he was too powerful and indestructible. And that's not really interesting to me. I actually prefer when protagonists are weaker and they're kind of like the underdogs that have to fight against powerful enemies. But Superman always felt like the inverse of that, which, just wasn't my kind of thing. But with all of that said, though, this is the first time that I think I got it. Like, I understood the appeal of Superman because I think beneath the character of Superman is a question. And I think this is the question. And this is what I was really thinking about after the film. Imagine if there was a man who was all powerful and could do literally anything, really. What would it take to make that man choose kindness? And if nobody could stop him from doing whatever he wanted, why would he still choose to be a servant to the people instead of ruling over them? And the answer is, and this isn't a spoiler, this is just, I think, a realization that I had about Superman. The answer is because he sees the goodness in humanity and he thinks that it's worth saving. Did I cry in the movie theater? You better believe it. Yeah, I did. I think David Corn Sweat is so charming in this film. He's a great Superman. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor is superb. Rachel Brosnahan, I think is the way that her name is pronounced, as Lois Lane. She was good. The casting is just so good in this film. There seemed to be a handful of people that had the criticism of saying that this film is, and I hate this word, man, woke. Mate, we got to retire this word, lads. We got to retire this word because at this point, it really does start to feel like certain kinds of people see something which is wholesome and kind and heartwarming, or someone has morals and they start going, oh, it's woke, I can't, it's woke. Like, come on, like, shut the fuck up with that, please. As I was walking out, like the sun was shining and everything, and I thought to myself, do you know what? I feel better than I did when I walked in. And if you want something that's, I think, just good, just feels good for the heart and a bit of fun, then go see Superman. Also, I think I'm going to start speaking more about recent films in these weekly updates now because I signed up for this AMC A-list thing. It's $20 per month, which is a little bit pricey, I know, but you get to watch 4 movies a week at the cinema. I know what you're thinking. Who's got time to watch 4 movies a week at the cinema? Not me, is the answer. But I do have time to see 1 movie a week, which I think is still a pretty good deal for $20 a month. Also, I take in my own snacks, so they're not getting me there. Now, here's the question. Did Superman make it onto my top 10 list for 2025? Let's take a look at the list as it currently stands. And as you can see, we've got in the number 10 position, A Real Pain, then American Fiction, The Last of Us, Predator, Killer of Killers, Anora, Warfare, White Lotus, Conclave, Sinners, and the best thing I've watched so far this year is Adolescence. So did Superman make it onto my top 10 list? The answer is yes. And in fact, he put himself in a pretty secure position. He's currently sitting in the number 4 spot. So I don't want to talk too soon. We're halfway through the year, so anything can happen, but I think he might be making it all the way. We'll have to see how the list, evolves now that I'm going to be going to the cinema every week. So what else has been happening with the channel? On the Patreon, we had a vote for what audiobook I'm going to be narrating for this month. Every month, some of the Patreon members get to decide what book. I'm an audiobook narrator, in case you didn't know. So the one that they chose was The Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe. So another Edgar Allan Poe short story. I ain't complaining. I like Edgar Allan Poe. And that's going to be getting released on my other channel, which is called Coffee Break Fiction, very soon. And that's like I say, that's just where I release all of the narration for these short stories. Also, we had some book battles on the Discord where we pit authors and books and series and genres and any kind of book related stuff. We pit them against each other in head-to-head battles. And this week we had Jack Kerouac versus Charles Bukowski in a sort of like an author battle. And the winner of that battle was Jack Kerouac with 60% of the vote. Then we had Moby Dick versus The Old Man and the Sea, and the winner of that battle was Moby Dick by 67%. And then we had a Russian classic author battle between Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, and the winner of that battle was Dostoevsky by 80%. He's absolutely smashed the life out of Tolstoy. So yeah, book battles are one of the games that we play over on the Discord. If you want to join in, suggest some matchups or chat about what you're reading, get some book recommendations, all that kind of stuff. It's just some fun for people that like books. It's totally free. You can come over and join. So now I'm going to ask you the big question of the week, like I like to do every Sunday. But just before I do that, I want to say a big thank you to all of the Patreon members for supporting this channel. A big thank you to the cult members. A massive thank you to the named men, and an extra special thank you to the quartet. All of you make this channel possible, and I'm so glad that we get to build this reading community together. Seriously, thanks so much for being a part of it. Okay, so this is the big question of the week. If you could punch one fictional character in the face, who would that be? Bear in mind, I said fictional character. Remember, we're talking about fictional characters and fictional punches. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. And as always, happy reading.